Recently, Alex O'Connor was interviewing with Cliff Knetchle and his son, and he had them in a corner. They fought bravely, they shared truth, but I don't think they addressed directly the point that Alex was making, and people definitely noticed it in the comments, so I thought I would offer a response to this. Alex O'Connor asked them, he's like, why does the forgiveness of God end at death? And the other two were sitting there like, man, this is a tough question. And it is a tough question. Anytime you're in a live debate and you're talking with somebody, there is a very strong possibility that somebody's going to come up with an angle that you haven't thought of. And it is hard to engage that on the spot. And here I'm sitting with the luxury of having thinking about this, but there is a solid answer to this. Number one, it's God's mercy and forgiveness doesn't end at death. That's the obvious answer. Because think of all of those who took God up on his grace and mercy. That grace and mercy is given to those who were wicked and didn't deserve it, and it is given for eternity. Now I know exactly the response here of Alex's. It would be this. It would be like, but we're not talking about everyone. He would just reframe the question and say, for a single person, why does God's grace end at death? Why does it just end at death? And he did a really good job of trying to frame this up. And he was like, God is eternal. Atheists, death is the end event for us, but God's eternal. And him being eternal, like, why couldn't his grace, just have held out a little longer? Why does it run out? But here is something that is not being addressed. God created man in his own image. Now, God didn't create God, but he created man in his image. And so there are some things about mankind that is going to be like unto God. This is one of the reasons a lot of atheists want to be their own God, but that's a separate matter. But if a human is created in the image of God, then he's going to have some attributes like unto God, and one of them will be eternality. Any human that is birthed, being God's special creation, is going to live for eternity, either with God or in hell. And we forget that if God is good eternally, is it not possible then that humans that are created in his image, but who choose their own way, will be wicked eternally? Why then would God have to extend his grace past the point of them determining forever that they aren't going to turn from their ways? If God is all-knowing, then he obviously would know the hearts of men, and he could give them deliberate many opportunities. It's like, listen, I gave you this opportunity and that opportunity and the one last month and the one this week, and now you're dead. Then Alex tries to grind it out a little further by saying that, if we died like now, before we had a chance to convert, and let's say we were going to convert in a week, the obvious answer to that is the objection that Alex brought up, which is God already knows if you would choose him or not. And knowing this, if God knows that a human being is never going to choose him because they are like God, they're eternal, but they can also be eternal in their character and their choice, there are absolutely contrarians out there that are never going to change their mind, no matter how much you torture them with hellfire. They're just going to suffer. And they'll be angry the entire time, just eternally angry at God, because that is who they are. We run into these type of people. They are contrarians. They are not just against their own family, they're against their mom and dad, they're against their neighbors, they're against law, they eventually turn against their friends. They're just against everybody, everywhere, all the time. People like this exist. And if that's just an extreme representation of a person that has already to a slighter degree chosen to be wicked forever, then God, it doesn't really matter when God kills him or whatnot. But Alex had a comeback point, and with that, his framing was kind of crafty with this. But he's like, but you know, if God already knows, then what's the point? Like, what is the point of living or making decisions or this, that, or the other? Like, if God already knows, what is the point? Emotional enrichment, the joys of life, the enrichment of the spiritual things. And I'm going to give some examples of this. Just because we know something and how it's going to turn out doesn't mean we don't want to do it or go through it. This is something really to consider. So, for instance, planning a party. You can plan a party weeks ahead of time, months ahead of time. You can say, we want a band to come in. I want it catered here. Oh, I want to have these kind of games. Can I get special people to come here? Can I get the mayor to come? And you can plan and you can plan and you can change the plans. And just because you've made all the plans, do you not want to go through with the party and enjoy the party? Same with a gift. If you plan a gift for somebody and you save and you invest and you strategize about how to give the gift and when to give the gift and if it should be mysterious or overt, would you not want to go through with doing that with the plan? Was it worth it? What about planning a vacation? We put all kind of effort into this, and some of us plan very well, like, oh, we're going to have a strategy before we get there. Number one, we're going to have a plan so it isn't boring. But number two, we're going to have a certain pace that isn't overwhelming at the same time. And just because you have intellectually planned something, does that mean you don't want to emotionally walk through it? Well, then Dostoevsky, or I think that's the way you pronounce it, comes up, I believe the Russian writer. And it was like, he basically gives this eloquent statement that I didn't record. He gives this eloquent statement that states that if I had to choose between facts and God, I would choose God. And then obviously some atheists have jumped on that in the comment section of Alex's video, and they were like, yeah, this is what Christians do, is they trade their facts away for God. This is an expression of emotion. It's not that you can get rid of facts. Like if you could get rid of all the facts, then all the facts about God and all the evidences that we see about God, if we got rid of all that, then we wouldn't have anything to be emotional about or intrigued with. But we do. We are intrigued with these things. And further, it's stupendous to me and surprising to me that atheists a lot of times kind of mock Christians for saying things like Dostoevsky, of saying that, you know, if we had to get rid of the facts just to have God and have the emotions of God, that it would be worth it. What is the atheist motive? What is the atheist motive if it's not emotions itself? The atheist debater that studies hard, that learns facts, that looks at philosophy, that, you know, lines up debates, that gets in a lot of debates so he can shape his craft, etc. He's doing all these things for the fulfillment of, I'm the greatest. I do this for pride's sake. There's nobody who can debate me. Logically, I own this. And be for the same reason, for the sake of fulfillment. So I just wanted to cover that. Alex O'Connor's talking about God's forgiveness ending, and it was short-sighted and wasn't quite addressed. And so I wanted you to really think about it and see that if God has created man in his own image, and he's eternally wicked, it really doesn't matter when the man dies or doesn't die. But it's not that God's grace is withheld. It's actually that the man is choosing against God. Just like is done so many times in so many people's minds.